to manifest his kingdom. We'll get into scripture for that in a bit, but it's the renewed mind through which he manifests his world, his rule. The mind is either renewed or it is at war with God. There isn't a neutral ground. It either wars against the king and his kingdom, or it is being renewed, being metamorphosized, being transformed. The word for the renewing of the mind, the transformed mind, is the same basic word that's used for Jesus on the Mount of Transfiguration. If you would picture with me for a moment, Jesus is on the Mount Transfiguration. It's the only prayer meeting Jesus allowed any of his disciples to attend that he had. Moses and Elijah show up. His clothing radiates with the presence and the glory. Jesus' own person issue. Because sometimes the Lord does not want to answer the prayer to you. He wants to answer it through you. And he scolded the disciples for the smallness of faith when they didn't stop the storm and they asked him to. Invitation to experience the reality of that truth. When Abraham was about to sacrifice his son Isaac and the Lord revealed himself as Jehovah Jireh, he had him stop the knife, and then he saw a ram caught in a thicket. The Lord revealed himself as Jehovah Jireh, the God who provides, all right? In that moment, when he revealed himself as Jehovah Jireh, he was not trying to expand Abraham's theological understanding of God's nature. He's not that concerned about your intelligence. What he was doing is he was revealing his nature to unveil an invitation to come and experience me as Jehovah Jireh. And then there's the ram in the thicket. And it was not just the concept that he had. He was brought into an encounter, into an experience. I don't believe personally the renewed mind is possible apart from experience, apart from encounter. So when the Lord reveals truth to us, it's not so that we can debate with somebody who disagrees with our particular way of thinking. It's so that we have an experience to support, to give us divine perspective. So don't be conformed to this world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind that you may approve the will of God. That word approve actually means to thoroughly examine the issue. Because sometimes the Lord does not want to answer the prayer to you. He wants to answer it through you. And he scolded the disciples for the smallness of faith when they didn't stop the storm and they asked him to. So don't be conformed to this world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind that you may approve the will of God. That word approve actually means to thoroughly examine the issue. Because sometimes the Lord does not want to answer the prayer to you. He wants to answer it through you. And he scolded the disciples for the smallness of faith when they didn't stop the storm and they asked him to. So don't be conformed to this world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind that you may approve the will of God. That word approve actually means to thoroughly examine the issue. Because sometimes the Lord does not want to answer the prayer to you. He wants to answer it through you. And he scolded the disciples for the smallness of faith when they didn't stop the storm and they asked him to. So don't be conformed to this world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind that you may approve the will of God. That word approve actually means to thoroughly examine and confirm it's authentic. That's fascinating to me. To thoroughly examine. Let's just say, since it's my story, that I'm an art appraiser. And I've studied my entire life. I've studied the paintings of Van Gogh. And I know every brush stroke. I know the history behind every painting. I know just everything about him. And so when anybody wants that painting to be verified that it's authentic, they call me, and I spend time. I do the tests. I do all this stuff, and am able to confirm. So let's say that your great aunt died and left you her estate, and you go back into the bedroom, and there is this painting, and it is signed Van Gogh. And it's not a print, it's actually with oils. So now, if it's not real, it's a copy, and it's worth maybe $50. If it's real, it's worth like $50 million. So you might want my opinion on whether or not it's the real deal. And so you bring it in for an appraisal, and so your whole family estate is hanging on whether or not I confirm that it's the real deal. And so I run it through all the tests. I come to this conclusion that what you have is actually a Van Gogh painting. This is an unknown Van Gogh painting that your aunt has held in secret for all these years, and you have something that is now worth tens of millions of dollars. Congratulations. Let's say that you have a problem in your body, and you have two very good friends, both very mature, they live in accountability, they live in community, they're very responsible people, and they call you on a particular morning, and they say, they call me and say, Bill, I had a dream about you last night. The first one called, said, I had a dream about you last night. The Lord appeared to me, and he told me to tell you this, that sickness that is in your body is allowed for a season, because I'm going to use it to touch the doctors and the medical people that are involved. And after I have used this sickness and this disease for a season, then I will visit you and I will heal you. And then I get another phone call, and a friend calls and says, Bill, I had a dream last night. In this dream, the Lord appeared to me and told me to give you this message, that this disease is not from him. And this Sunday morning as you worship, the Spirit of God's going to fall upon you, and that affliction is going to be broken off. I'd just been given 2 paintings. The renewed mind has to find out which one is the authentic. And so what you do is you go to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and you read all the originals. And you go through and you find out Jesus had no toleration for affliction. He didn't approve of disease ever, even though there would be a righteous ending. Now, that's not to say God can't use something, but, let's be honest, he can use the devil. He can use the devil in his rebellion. He can use him as a chess piece on a chessboard. He can move him around however he wants. Sometimes, because of God's ability to use a problem, we have concluded that God approved the problem.